let's take it another step. Let's say we're tired of writing 4-note textures. We want to add a 5th note, 5-note textures. So the 2-note structure is called a dyad, D-I-A-D. If we look here, these are some 2-note structures in your left hand. C and E, E flat, C and F, C and G, B flat, and B natural. You could also have an A in there if you want. Here we have 2-note structures in our left hand and triads in our right hand. And this will start to sound more like jazz harmony. So what do we have here? We've got a B flat triad and a C and E flat dyad, which gives us a C minor ninth. We don't need the G here. Not necessary. The next chord is a D in the right hand over F and E flat in the left hand, right? So that's a 13 flat 9. And then the next one is the same chord as the first one, except a step higher. So it's C and D and F. And then again, the same chord as the second chord, but a step higher. And then now here, something a little different. We've got a G minor chord in first inversion over the E, C, and E flat. And then here, we've got an F sharp minor chord over the F and E flat, which gives us a flat 9 and a sharp 5. And then this last one is an F over B flat and F, which is a major ninth. So if we look here, if we look at the first 2 chords and then we look at these 2 chords, right? The first 2 chords have a B flat and a D major in the right hand. On the third measure, we've got a G minor and an F sharp minor, right? So the first 2 chords are major, and then these 2 chords in the right hand are minor, right? It gives you a different sound. So I'll play the first two chords, and then I'll play the third measure. Right, that's the F chord, the difference, and then the G chord, the C chord. And the reason I altered these here was to have some variation, and also because I'm going down chromatically here in the top note from G sharp, G natural, F sharp, and F, which is nice voice leading. Very smooth. Look at a few more of these, right? So right here, so I'm using some augmented triads in the right hand. So it's a C augmented over D and F sharp, a G augmented over G and F, but it's in the first inversion. Then a B flat augmented triad over C and E, and F augmented over F and E flat, and then ending on our this chord here, A minor over B flat and D, which is a B flat major ninth with a raised 11th. Now, let's take a look at this one here, and then we'll talk about it. So now my left hand is moving down in thirds till over here. And the right hand, right? So we got B minor over C and E. Then we got A major over B and D. We got B flat and D flat with a C major. Then A and C over with a G above that. Then G and B with a D above that. And then we go down to E and G with a D triad. And then B flat augmented over C and G. And then a weird resolution to that. Here, we've got fourths in the left hand, D and G, C and F, B and E, and then triads above that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Here we've got, all right, so diminished, so tritones. So, right, so, that was just playing this progression here and playing around with it, and you can come up with some really cool stuff. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. Right, so we've got D flat triad over G and B, then a D triad over E and G, and then right here we've got a D flat augmented triad over E flat and G, and then an F triad over D and F sharp, and then an F sharp triad over C and E, and then a D minor triad over B and D sharp, then an E minor triad over F and A, and then a B diminished triad over E and G sharp, then E minor triad over A and C. Okay, so if I were to analyze these chords, right? So they're just triads and thirds in the left hand, right? So this is a G7 flat 5 flat 9, right? E minor 11th, E flat 9 sharp 11, D7 sharp 9. Let's see. So this would be a C7 flat 9 sharp 11, B7 sharp 9 flat 5, F major 7th sharp 11th, E7 flat 9, and A minor 9th, right? So very complex harmonies to sit there and try to spell them out. I told you that story about how I think I told it to the other class for sure, about Professor Musgrave showing us how she could achieve the same sound with much simpler means by giving instructions to players compared to Milton Babbitt, who had everything micromanaged so that it all related back to 12 because he was into 12-tone music. So everything was 12, time, 12 seconds to do this, 12 notes, like we do metric modulation, like 12 beats faster, like all this, everything related to 12, right? And impossible to play, sounded like a mess, and she just gave instructions and note ranges to her players. And, in 20 minutes, she had a perfectly great take. So similar thing here. You get started and you experiment around with these things. All right, so I'm just going to play through some of these and not talk about them. Let's see, we did this one already. Right, so let's look at this one here. Oh, let me play that better so it sounds nicer. That's the other thing, too, is when you start playing these extended harmonies, the way that you voice them in your hands or using your DAW, which notes, how loud they are, which notes are more important, makes a big difference in how something sounds. So, for example, if I played at measure 101, that's one thing. If I played it like this, see, that sounds like crap, right? It's very essential that you take care in how you present the music, and to present this music, these chords properly. Even if I was playing them rhythmically, right? And basically triads in the right hand. famously the So What chords, Miles Davis, which is a triad over a fourth. This is where this really starts to get interesting and can be really helpful for film scoring. Let's move forward. So once you have these 5-note textures, right, where you're not doubling any note, it's 5 different notes. Each chord has 5 different notes, 5 different pitches. In other words, I'm not playing something that's like this, where I've got E, G, C, B, E, G, B, right? There's 5 separate pitches. That's economy, and that sounds better. Once you've got those 5 notes, those 5 notes can create a scale fragment. So if we look here, we've got this E, C, and E flat, B flat, F, and D, right? If we take those notes and we arrange them in a scale so that they're as close as they can be, we've got C, E flat, B flat, D, and F. So we take the B flat, C, D, E flat, and F. Right? That gives us a pool of notes that will work well together because this sounds good. So that means other permutations, other arrangements of those notes will also sound good. So for example, right here, I have the E flat and the F, C, D, and B flat, right? This is the same chord as this. Different feeling though, right? And see, this is where you have a direction and you build into something unique, right? This is a unique way of arranging tones that I don't really hear often. I didn't think of this. I've came up upon this, but I've since read books where this is explained, so I didn't, I may have stumbled upon this independently, but I wasn't the first person to think about this. Let's take this next one here, which is F, E flat, A, D, and F sharp. Right? So that's an F13. So we've got, right? And with a flat ninth. So if we arrange that in a scale order, we can't get everything perfectly like we could with the previous one, but we get D, E flat, F, F sharp or G flat, and A. So we get that, right? I'm going to rearrange those tones. And I'm going to get that, which is this chord right here. As opposed to, that sounds like a jazz chord. This doesn't. Oh. Then, what about spacing? So if I played it, the E flat down there, F sharp. Right? Or so this is the same chord as this, but this E flat is down an octave. What if I take the right hand and jump it up an octave? Right? What if I do this? Right? So what have I done? I've taken the right hand, instead of playing like that, I got F, a D, A, and F. Yeah, I can hit that stretch, yes. And then, boy, you orchestrate that for a string orchestra. That's incredible. Okay, here we've got the F, B over F triad over B flat and D flat. That gives us a similar deal as this, where we're going to skip a tone, but we'll get them as close as we can because it's a scale fragment. It's not a scale. And that's a pool of notes. So I could arrange that like this. That's this chord here. Right, that's very Copland-esque, Okay, so this is this. You know, that sounds like a jazz pianist accompanying somebody. Same chords, reordering the notes. Right? Listen to that. That's like beautiful. Okay, so these 5 chords here, right? One more time. Get it in your ear. Okay, let's listen to this. Let me play that a little better. Right? Same chord progression, same notes in each chord, just reordered in an unusual way. Then once you've got your 5 notes, those 5 notes can become a fragment of a scale. So you order those notes as close as you can to being in a scale. And the way you reorder them is you experiment, you take notes, and it's study. You have to study this stuff. It doesn't come without work, but and what I would suggest, and I say this over and over and over again in every class, is 4 or 5 times a week, spend 15 to 20 minutes a day with a targeted practice of harmony. So if you're really basic, you're going to spend 2 months, maybe 3 months, just learning your triads, right? So you learn major triads, minor triads, augmented triads, and diminished triads. You learn to play them in all keys, in all inversions. So you spend 3 months doing that. And the reason why you can do that is I've just shown you where you can eventually end up and how you can increase your harmonic vocabulary to the nth degree with a little ingenuity, a little hard work, a little calculation. But it all comes from understanding harmony and growing your harmonic vocabulary. And then play your triads in scales. Major scales and melodic minor scales are the 2 most used ones. If you use a harmonic minor scale, you get some really interesting things there, but that can be like save that until you get really comfortable, and then you can play around with that. And then do that in all 12 keys, in all inversions. Then start adding that, playing triads and experimenting around with different triads and different bass notes. Keep a diary. What sounds good to your ear? Learn them in different keys. So if you come up with a voicing like this, be able to play that. What am I? Right, on all 12 tones. Then make little progressions. So this is like you're in like maybe month 9 or 10. Little progressions, right, of like 3 or 4 chords, moving things around. Remember, like triads want to resolve either out or in, depending upon, where they are in the scale. And keep a diary of this stuff, because it's so funny. When I did this concert tour in the fall of 1989 and late spring of 1990, early summer, and then again in the fall of 1991, it was the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber in concert. So we toured with a 35-piece orchestra, if you can believe that. And we had 8 very accomplished singers who'd all had Broadway experience, 4 women and 4 men. And on many of the gigs, his then wife, Sarah Brightman, who starred as Christine Daae in the London and the original Broadway production of Phantom of the Opera, she would be the featured vocalist in the bigger gigs, like when we played in San Francisco or we played in Los Angeles. But she didn't come to Denver, Colorado, or she didn't come to Louisville, Kentucky. But she did come to Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, and she did come to two places in California. She came to Orange County, Costa Mesa. I think that Andrew Lloyd Webber, incredibly successful, incredibly wealthy. I think there are really good moments in Phantom of the Opera. I think there's not some good moments in that. I think that his first musical, Jesus Christ Superstar, is his best work. And then there's some nice stuff in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. But then, Aspects of Love wasn't so good. And like a lot of stuff that he did really wasn't that good. But he wrote a mass, I believe. And we used to do this Pie Jesu from there. But he was like one of the big tunes from Phantom of the Opera. Right? That tune there, Sarah would tell this story about when Andrew was writing Phantom of the Opera. They came along this section and he tried to write something new and he couldn't figure it out. But then he went to what he called his music bank, right? Which was this sketchbook he had with like hundreds of ideas written down. And most of that song was in there and he pulled it out of the music bank, right? That's like all of us composers do that. We have fragments of ideas, whether we sing them into our phones or whether we make quick little sequences or we sketch out some notes. We have ideas and that we keep, that we can recall when they fit in the appropriate spot. And so writing these three, figuring out which chord voicings you like, you can create like a chord bank, and figuring out how to make progressions. That could be part of your chord bank, I personally do write some of these things out, as you just saw, but I like to practice them and get them in my hands so that I can conjure them up when I need them without having to think about it too much. And that takes decades. That takes a long time of work. But learning how to be an effective musician is not something that happens overnight. Learning how to be an effective composer, especially in the 21st century, means that you not only need to learn how to write music, you also need to learn how to present that music effectively.